Hi, good day. My is Marlon M. Almeda. Today, we discuss about categorizing of information risk management or IRM. Here is the overview of my report. This report you understand the following. The role that Security Impact Analysis or SIA plays in the overall scope of the National Institute for Standards and Technology NIST Risk Management Framework RMF. The NIST guidelines and standards that support the activities of security categorization. The NIST system security categorization process from the organization, management, and system perspective. Review of IRM. On the discussion of Chapter 1, that the three key security requirements required by the most information systems are: 1 is availability, 2 is integrity, 3 is confidentiality. These are the purpose of an information system security program and properties that must be included and deployed to most, if not all, information systems. There would be no cost-based rationalizations to provide all systems with a maximum level of protection. Moreover, each system has unique requirements for different levels of these properties depending on the determined legal and regulatory requirements and, more importantly, on the impact that could result if one of these capabilities was missing. Here is the significance of categorization of IRM. The security categorization is the most important step in the risk management framework or the RMF. It also affects information security decisions for both the organization and individual information system and influences all remaining steps in the RMF, from the selection of security control to the level of effort needed to assess and maintain the controls. Here is the security impact analysis. The concept and definition of the SIA is the analysis normally conducted by an individual who is specialized in cybersecurity risk management to determine the extent to which the changes in the information system will affect the security state of an organization's ICT system. Is to determine if the change has created any new vulnerabilities in the system. The change should be analyzed for security weaknesses using whatever tool is appropriate for the particular change. To determine potential security implication of system change are the responsibility of the deployer. The relevance of IRM. Identify potential risk areas real and possible of a proposed change. Also develop effective safeguards, design requirements to address identified potential risks. And develop effective security and privacy testing to integrate into overall testing prior to promotion of change into a production environment. Here are the steps and procedures. Identify and catalog your information assets. Identify threats. Identify vulnerabilities. Analyze internal controls. Determine the likelihood that an incident will occur. Assess the impact a threat would have. Prioritize the risks to your information security. Design controls. And documents results. Beneficial advantage. Determining the impact of implementing the new or enhanced controls. Determining the impact of not implementing the new or enhanced controls. Estimating the costs of the implementation. These may include, but are not limited to, the following: hardware and software purchases. Reduced operational effectiveness if system performance or functionality is reduced for increased security. Cost of implementing additional policies and procedures. Cost of hiring additional personnel to implement proposed policies, procedures, or services. Training costs. Maintenance costs. Assessing the implementation costs and benefits against system and data criticality to determine the importance to the organization of implementing the new controls, given their costs and relative impact.
Okay, now let's continue with our topic, categorizing information and information system. The question is, Why do you need to categorize? Why do we need to categorize? We need to categorize information and information system. The reason why we need to categorize is we need to determine how sensitive and how critical the data information that resides in the system. How critical the data information that is being processed in the system or transmitted in the system. Now, we are trying to determine the criticality and the sensitivity of the information and information system. How are we going to do that? How are we going to determine the criticality and sensitivity of information and information system? We can only do that by categorizing our information and information system. Now, when you are going to categorize information and information system, there are some things that we are going to consider. We need to consider some standards. We have here industry standards, and one of it is this FIPS 199. FIPS 199 is a standard, and it refers to Federal Information Processing Standard. This FIPS 199 tells us, or it helps us to understand what is this that we want to categorize and why we need to categorize. Now, let's take a look at this. The purpose of the categorized step. The purpose of this step is to inform organizational risk management processes and tasks by determining the adverse impact to organizational operations and assets, individuals, other organizations, and the nation with respect to the loss of confidentiality, integrity, and availability of organizational systems and the information processed, stored, and transmitted by those systems. As you can see, by having this step, we have some terms that we are going to determine. We have this adverse impact, we have this confidentiality, integrity, availability. So these terms can be elaborated more on this FIPS 199 and be given significance. Now, this FIPS 199 provides criteria for the security categorization of information types and information systems. It is based on the potential impact baselines driven by the objectives of providing appropriate levels of information security according to the range of risk levels. So later on, we will talk about these levels. Okay, now, this FIPS 199, it defines these levels, these three levels of potential impact. We have this low, moderate, and high. On organizations or individuals, should there be a breach of security such as the loss of confidentiality, integrity, or availability. Now, the baseline for the potential impact level of FIPS 199. We have there, the first one is the low impact. Low impact refers to the limited adverse effect on organizational operations, organizational assets, or individuals. It means that the effect or the cyber attack The effect of the security breach according to the NIST definition is low. The impact means loss of confidence. Low impact means loss of confidentiality, integrity, or availability. And it is expected to have a limited adverse effect on the organization's operations or assets, organizational assets, or individual. So this limited adverse effect means, for example, loss of confidentiality, loss of integrity, loss of availability might cause a degradation, might cause a degradation in mission capability to an extent and duration that the organization is able to perform its primary functions, but the effectiveness of this function is noticeably reduced. This will be the effect. It might result in minor damage of organizational assets. For having this low impact might result in minor financial loss. Having this low impact also might result in minor harm to individuals. That is the first level. The next one, moderate impact. It refers to serious adverse effect on organizational operations, organizational assets, or individuals. For example, for this serious adverse effect, it means that, for example, the loss of confidentiality, integrity, or availability might cause a significant degradation in mission capability to an extent and duration that the organization is able to perform its primary functions, but the effectiveness of the functions is noticeably reduced. So as we can see, there is a significant degradation. While from the low, we have a cause of degradation. Now, for moderate impact, we have a significant effect. Next, it might result in a significant damage of organizational assets. There can be a significant damage of the organizational assets, and it might result in significant financial loss and result in significant harm to individual that does not involve loss of life or serious life-threatening injury. In moderate impact, it might have a significant harm, but it does not involve the loss of life or serious life-threatening injury. Next, or the last level, we have high impact. For high impact, it refers to severe or catastrophic adverse effect on organizational operations, organizational assets, or individuals. It means that the loss of confidentiality, the loss of integrity, or the loss of availability could be expected to have a severe or catastrophic adverse effect on the organizational assets, operations, or individual. So, if we say severe catastrophic effect, what does it mean? For example, we have the loss of confidentiality, integrity, and availability might cause a severe degradation. It might cause a severe degradation in loss. It might cause a severe degradation in or loss of mission capability. It might result in major damage of organizational assets. It might result in the major financial loss, and it might result in severe or catastrophic end to individuals it involves loss of life or serious life-threatening injury. So in here, for high impact, it might result to the end of life of an individual. It has a major damage on organizational. It might have a major damage or major financial loss. Now, these are the definitions according to FIPS 199. Now, for each information type being analyzed, the potential impact values assigned to the three security objectives, we have confidentiality, integrity, and availability, are determined by using the values low, moderate, or high. Let's have this four-step process for categorizing information and information system. First, we need to identify information type. Information type means the information that is processed, the information that is transmitted, the information that is stored in the information system or the application. That is the information type. Now, second, select the security impact level. So the second one is select the security impact level. We need to select the level based on we have discussed about the impact levels. We have low, moderate, and high. Next step is we need to review provisional impact levels. After selecting, we need to review it. Then we are going to assign a system security category and its overall impact level. Now, to elaborate on this, let's have this example. An educational institution managing both sensitive student information and administrative information in a registration system determines that the potential impact for student information from the loss of confidentiality is high. It is based on the criteria it must follow, which has been established by the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act, or FERPA. The potential impact from the loss of integrity is high, and the potential impact from the loss of availability is moderate. For administrative information, the loss of confidentiality is moderate, the loss of integrity is moderate, and the loss of availability is low. Now, the resulting security category for these information types can be expressed as follows. Okay, for example, so from the example, we have information types. So we are going to write it there, security category, the confidentiality, integrity, and availability. We have information type first is student information. The confidentiality is high, integrity is high, the availability is moderate. Next information is administrative information. The confidentiality is moderate. The integrity for this information type is moderate, and the availability of this information is low. Now, let's determine the registration system, the high water mark of this registration system. In getting the high water mark, we need to determine the highest level in each of these security category. So for the confidentiality, the highest level is high. For the integrity, the highest impact level is high. And for the availability, the highest impact level is moderate. So the high water mark for this information, for this security category is high, high, and moderate. Now, how are we going to determine the overall security category? To have this, we have to determine the highest level of impact, the highest level of potential impact from the high water mark. The highest level we have there, high, from the confidentiality, integrity, and availability. So the overall security category for the registration system in an educational institution is high. So this means that having this high impact, it has a severe or catastrophic adverse effect on organizational operations, organizational assets, or individuals. So from the result of this overall security category, which is high, it might result to major financial loss of this organization. It might result in major damage in organizational assets, or it might result to a severe catastrophic adverse effect on organizational operations, organizational assets, or individuals. Okay. So with this categorization, it gives us an overview or analysis on how sensitive and critical the system is. It also helps us to understand how to adequately secure the system and adequately put security measures into the system. So we cannot secure an information system without categorizing it first. And why we categorize? Why we categorize? In order to determine the sensitivity, the criticality of information and information system.
The categorization process begins with a comprehensive analysis of the organization's vision, mission, goals, processes, and enterprise architecture. In order to identify the types of information processed, stored, and transmitted by the information systems, the security team must determine whether there is a specific information that is unique to a certain organization. For each organization-specific information type, the security team must determine the initial security impact baseline value as either low, moderate, or high. For each of the security objectives, confidentiality, integrity, and availability, and any special factors regarding the impact determination. In order to meet the security needs for each security system on each business functions in an organization, the security team must perform the following activities. Establishment of relationships with organizational entities. Development of organization-wide categorization programs. Initiation of organization-wide categorization sessions. In security categorization from the management perspective and from the system perspective. It should be noted that the categorization process can only be successful if there is an appropriate level of collaboration within an organization. That is why it is important for the security team to establish a close relationship within the affected individuals within an organization and its external service providers. The development of a categorization guidance program is also important. In addition to the formulation of organization-level procedures, documentation, approval, and reporting mechanisms for the completion of the process. This provides detail on how information and information systems work within the process, such as the integration of the categorization within an existing process, definition of the system development life cycle, handling of the emergence of a new type of information, initiation of the categorization process for their individual information systems in accordance to the organization's policies and procedures, documentation of the decisions made during the procedure, seeking approval for decisions made, following appropriate reporting procedures, and maintaining the decisions made during the categorization process. After an organization-specific information type has been identified and approved, the information will now be then documented and shared with other individuals involved in the categorization process. Each organization will now have its own approach for the documentation based on its standards and guidelines when it comes to the matter. After the formulation of a guidance program, a series of training sessions will now be conducted to individuals who perform the process task, in such way that this will help to attain a certain degree of consistency. Organizations also need a comprehensive approach in managing risks. Such an approach that provides the capability for the management to recognize the balance between the organization's defined mission and objectives in correlation with day-to-day operations. Organizations also consider to implement an effective allocation of security controls to their information systems. This can be done with the deconstruction of the information systems into multiple subsystems, and then separately categorized individually. In order to facilitate a seamless security categorization process, the individuals performing the task must be adequately prepared, such as having a common understanding about which subsystem is being categorized. The main objective of this process is to identify potential information types and system security impact level. Therefore, it is necessary for all of the documentation related to the system components that make up the subsystem and documentation related to the information processed, stored, or transmitted by the subsystem to be available. At a minimum, the documentation should include the following: the system requirement specification, system design specification, database design, samples of system reports, and maintenance plans. Then you will proceed with step 1, identification of system information types. The process moves on the identification of system information types associated with the subsystem being categorized and documenting them in the system security plan. This centers on the verification of the characteristics of the system, including the system boundary and the information that it processes, stores, or transmits. The goal is to obtain as much information as possible of the following: overall scope of the system, portions of the organization's mission or business function that the system supports, transmission of data across the system boundary, functions and processes performed by the system, types of users and their usage characteristics, individuals, external organizations, or other subsystems that are information. The main goal is to obtain as much information as possible of the following: the overall scope of the system, portions of the organization's mission or business function that the system supports, transmission of data across the system boundary, functions and processes performed by the system, the types of users and their usage characteristics, individuals, external organizations, or other subsystems that share information with the subsystem being categorized, characteristics of the operating environment, and applications support by the subsystem, and the information that they process, store, create, transmit, or delete. Once the information subsystem is being categorized and the information associated with it is understood, the security categorization process progresses to the second level of abstraction, in which individual data elements are identified and examined how they are used in an information system and is grouped. Data elements are the smallest unit of information that can be understood. As each data element is identified, the database documentation assembled at the outset of the process is now used to gain insight into how the data element is used. Once all of the relevant data elements have been identified and logically grouped, a description of each data element is created and then documented. The next task is to identify information types is to match the data elements in the system to available information types identified in the organization. Next is to identify the categories and information types already provided by the guidelines that are related to the organization's objectives. At a minimum, the description must contain the following: a brief title and description of the information type, a recommended security category, and a recommendation for the appropriate security impact value and the specific factors affecting the impact value determination for each security objective. The final task necessary in identifying information types is for each to be documented in the organization's security plan. During this part of the categorization process, the information types are identified and added to the table. As the categorization process continues through the selection of provisional impact levels and making adjustments to information types and impact levels, additional information is being added. Step 2. Selecting provisional impact values. On each information type that has been identified and documented in the organization's system security plan, the categorization process now includes tasks related to selecting and documenting provisional impact values for each information type. The provisional impact values can now be low, moderate, or high. Confidentiality also have an impact value of not applicable based whether if an information type contains public information, followed by a justification for how the impact type is determined for each of the three security objectives, as either confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Step 3. Adjustment of the provisional impact levels of information types. As the security team continues to identify the threats and vulnerabilities to the organization's ICT system, new system components are continued to be added. As the organization's missions and objectives change, the established provisional impact level for many existing information types change as well. At this step of the categorization process, the organization must perform a review and adjustment of the provisional security impact levels for the security objectives on each information type, resulting in a finalized state. Specifically, the organization must perform or must have the following: a review of the provisional impact levels based on the organization's environment, mission, use, and data sharing in order to justify their appropriateness. The adjustment based on the review to the security object impact levels as the necessary using the special factors guidance found, and the preparation and documentation of all adjustments that were made to impact levels, providing an appropriate rationale or justification of each adjustment. If adjustments are made, the association impact values for each security objective are added to the information type table of the security plan. along with the supporting rationale to increase or decrease the values. If, for any security objective, the impact values did not change, the table must be updated to state to no adjustments was needed. Step 4. Determining the information system security level. Once each information type has been identified, assigned, appropriate impact levels, and documented, the security categorization process proceeds to the task of assigning the system's provisional security task category. Upon completion, the existing system's impact values for each security objective will have reviewed to determine whether they are applicable to the information system or whether a more realistic view of the potential impact of the system requires an increasing or more security objectives of the security category. In reviewing the existing impact levels, the provisional security system category is chosen by considering the highest value assigned to each security objective. Among the system types, using the high watermark highest value. For each security objective, the value low, moderate, or high is assigned and expressed syntactically as. After determination has been made of the final system security impact level, the information is documented in the approximate or the appropriate system security plan table. Step 5. Obtaining approval for the system security category and impact level. Consistent with each of the other steps, the information system security impact level and security category must be approved based on the specific directives in the organization's categorization guidance documentation before continuing to the select security controls. The purpose of approval in this stage of the process is to validate the categorization decision, since the decision will determine the selection of the security controls that will be implemented in the information system. Step 6. Maintaining the system security category and impact levels. In this case, the part of the continuous monitoring process being employed recognizes the need for the implemented security controls to be monitored on a frequent and scheduled basis. Changes or other activities performed on the information system that could affect the implemented security controls include but not limited to the changes in the operation environment, new threats to the system, changes to the system functions, new interconnections, or added remove information or information technology components.